Here are the horoscopes for the week of the 11th to the 17th of March 2019. It's quite a quiet week planetarily, but a very deep week for doing the final clearing as we're heading towards the full moon and spring equinox next week. This is very much a clearing phase. We have the Mercury retrograde in Pisces, and this will always turn us inwards, turn our thoughts inwards, bring us messages from the subconscious that appear in our lives as lessons. So the key with this is to not take the lesson on face value, not take things personally, not project or blame, or come from a victim stance, but to have a look at the real message of what we're being shown. Because Pisces is our subconscious waters, and our imagination really, sometimes we attract to us from places of fear or lack, separation, or a story that's resonant in the cells of our body. But those stories are ready to go now if we've learnt the lessons. So the cleansing is really on a very deep and cellular level. What are you ready to let go of? What are you holding on to that's attracting negativity in situations or relationships? And is it still relevant, or can you rinse that off now? So a very deep and rinsing week with lessons coming up every day. But the necessity to look beyond the obvious and to ask, what am I learning here? What am I teaching myself? Many people think that Mercury retrograde is the universe having a go at them, but it's very much, what am I learning and what am I wanting to learn and why now? And what can I do to make the necessary inner recalibrations? So Monday, Tuesday, very much looking beyond the obvious. Have a look around what's happening in your world and what's the core emotion behind it. Are you holding on to a belief that's ready to go now? And once you let go of that belief, the situation will then melt away as well, or at least you won't attract it again. So the waters of our imagination, the waters in the cells, we're holding on to stories from our own past lives and from our own ancestral lineage, but maybe they don't have anything to teach us anymore. Maybe we're just carrying on a story that we could actually be letting go of. So with Saturn in the middle degrees of Capricorn, it's like a Saturn return for the world, because Saturn rules Capricorn. And it's not just universal bullying, if you like, it's more schooling. It's a daily workshop. So can you stand on your own 2 feet? Can you decide what makes you strong? What supports you? Can you support you? And can you feel supported by the world rather than creating paradigms of lack and fear? It's a really, really difficult one, but very necessary, and the time scale here will take us through to the equinox, so not long. If we can attend to the daily lessons, if we can do the deep introspection, then we're making room for some very fresh energies to come in next week. The main aspects that I see for this week are on Thursday, when we have the Sun squaring off with Jupiter. So this challenges our own connection with our inner power, challenges us to reconnect with that. But that could be power struggles appearing on the outside to make us go deep within and find our own source of our inner power. But on the same day, Mars is in a harmonic aspect with Saturn. So we have help here to find that warrior spirit, to stand strong and tall and connect with the wisdom and strength to make significant adjustments towards soul sovereign living, really. So a very big lesson coming in there. Are you coming from your inner strength? Can we clear out any inner weakness that's been conditioned into us over millennia and begin to let go of that story so we can find that inner voice and that inner spark to actually start being our true selves? So daily, having a look at our limiting beliefs, negative beliefs. Are we magnetising from a place of fear or trauma or lack? Challenging where we first picked up that emotion, that belief, that paradigm that's now turned into a behaviour, which is now bringing those stories into our lives. And is it true? Is it still relevant? What can we do to go back and learn the first lesson from that, but not have to carry everything forwards as emotional baggage? So a deeply reflective week, taking us all the way through to the middle of next week, but just to know that we're actually making room, we're making space, we're ending quite a few time cycles at the same time, really. We're ending a 7-year Saturn cycle, and we've ended a 50-year Chiron cycle, When the Sun does meet with Chiron next week on the spring equinox, then this is a fresh start. So knowing that timeline, if we attend daily to anything that's coming up, it's coming up because we want to clear it. We're ready to release it. That way of thinking or feeling, the belief behind it, will no longer see us true. Going into the future, so doing what we can to turn the conscious mind onto the base belief, challenge its veracity, and then gently release it, is really the key flavour of the next week and a half. So this requires being gentle with ourselves, being philosophical, stepping back to get that perspective, to see what does this really mean, rather than jumping straight into the story and taking it personally and getting caught up in the details, because Mercury retrograde in Pisces wants to see the bigger picture, wants to feel into the minutiae, wants to actually bring the feeling up, hold it and dissolve it, rather than letting the mental mind of the opposite sign Virgo get caught up in the detail, the story and the narrative. So it's really body energy work this week. If something comes up, then just sit with it, go back in time. Where does it come from? Is it still relevant? Is it yours? And are you ready to let go of it? But with letting go, there's a sense of surrender, and again, on the axis of Pisces and Virgo, Virgo often doesn't want to surrender, it wants to control and analyse. So can we turn off the analytical mind that wants to get caught up in the scenario and turn that inwards to explore what's the deeper meaning, is really the workshop that we're all walking through, both individually and collectively, over the next week and a half. Because it's like a cleaning of house. Everything's got to go now. We're not dragging anything forwards. So if we can approach it with that philosophy, gratitude, attending to the necessary work, making room, letting go, and just holding the space within, connecting with our inner power, not having to act upon that, then by the time the equinox comes in, there's a flood of fresh energy heading our way. So have a look at where your negative fears, limiting beliefs, where you're making yourself smaller than you should be, where the victim's running the show. Have a look at all of those things gently and daily, because that way of living is coming to an end and a whole new cycle is about to begin. If you'd like to explore any of this with me, I am available all week, one-to-one or online, where we can have a look at your chart and see where you're manifesting from and what you're ready to release to live a more soul-sovereign life and to connect you with your inner gold. I also have my Tarot Club on Tuesday, where we'll be looking at soul relationships and soul contracts. There's a couple of spaces left free on that, and you can book that through my website www.astrozo.com, or come find me on Facebook at Astrozo, Instagram at ZoeHines7, or email me zoehines7@gmail.com. So those are the horoscopes this week, and I'll see you next week.